What's going on, everyone? JJ Zachariason here to answer some start-sit questions. Before I get going, similar to last week, last week on the show, I talked about Elijah Mitchell being a potential waiver wire ad. A lot went in his favor. Raheem Mostert gets hurt. Obviously, this was after Trey Sermon was already inactive. And then Elijah Mitchell ended up being, one of the highest, if not the highest. I mean, he was the number one waiver ad this past week. So a lot of you guys benefited from that. I think this week's Elijah Mitchell pickup, we should not expect that kind of production and that kind of player to come forth every single week. But I think JJ Taylor, elite name, JJ Taylor should be added off waiver wires right now, only because Ramondre Stevenson is inactive. We saw him have that fumble last week. That's probably the main reason why he's inactive. And then Damian Harris had that fumble also last week. So who knows how Bill Belichick's going to split that backfield. JJ Taylor, smaller back, good pass catcher, sort of a Dion Lewis type. You can consider him as a newer Dion Lewis. But he's intriguing. He looked good in the preseason too. So let me go to the chat really quick and let's answer some start-sit questions. First question, 2 to flex and half PPR. Julio, Higgins, Brandon Cooks, or Elijah Mitchell. Half PPR, I think I would go with Julio. I like that spot. I like that game. I mean, you can make a case for Higgins there too. Mitchell would give you the floor, so I'd be between Higgins and Mitchell there. Mitchell is the floor play though. PPR need 2: Miles Sanders, Sutton, Tyson Williams, Kenyon Drake. In a PPR league, I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton. Without Jerry Jeudy there, good matchup for him. I'll go with Sutton, and then I'd probably play Miles Sanders as the other one. Start Ayuk, Terrace Marshall, or Jacoby Myers in half PPR. Can't go with Ayuk, just given his usage last week. Look, if Ayuk does really well this week, great. You have him on your bench. You should still feel good about that, and I would still keep him on my bench. So I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers out of those three. Hurts or Tannehill, I think you go Hurts. I like Tannehill's spot. I love him in a GPP over on FanDuel this week. I think he's at a good price point. So Tannehill's in play for me, and I don't mind him, but just the rushing component with Hurts and, how he played last week and how Tannehill played, what if that Tennessee offensive line looks as bad this week? And it could spell trouble. So he's a higher variance, highly volatile play. I'm just going to go with Jalen Hurts. Half PPR, Elijah Mitchell or DJ Moore. Probably go with DJ Moore, especially because Lattimore's out. 1 point PPR, 14-team flex. Jamal Williams against for Detroit, or MVS in Green Bay. So I'll probably say Jamal Williams is a safer play, especially with DeAndre Swift banged up. But I love MVS this week. So this is what I would do if I were you. If you're a big underdog in that game, I'd probably go to MVS and use MVS on Monday night. But if not, then I would use Jamal Williams because I think he has a safer floor. Full PPR, Elijah Moore, Ronald Jones, Emmanuel Sanders, Tony Pollard, or Trey Sermon. I am going to go with Emmanuel Sanders. I actually like Emmanuel Sanders today. Hey, JJ, Melvin Gordon or Tyson in the flex. I'm going to go with Tyson. PPR, Tyson, Edmonds, or Drake. I will go with Edmonds there. I just like that game environment. I think he's in a decent spot. And PPR, pick 1, Woods, AB, or Edmonds. And PPR, I'm probably going AB there, but I think that you can make a case for either guy. Broncos or Browns defense, they're both really, really good plays. I'd probably go with the Browns. But both the Broncos and Browns are great plays. Drop Renfro or MVS for a kicker. I think MVS is a higher ceiling, so I'm just going to say drop Renfro. But I did talk about Renfro on my podcast this week. I got to be the only fantasy football podcast that talked about Hunter Renfro this week, just because the Steelers do not play well against slot guys. He's not a high ceiling option by any means, but he's a high floor option. But MVS, better ceiling season long. Which 2 high upside wide? I would also, for the record, play MVS over Hunter Renfro. Which 2 high upside wide receivers should I stash this week? Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Michael Pittman, Terrace Marshall. I don't have a strong preference here. I think Elijah Moore is the best prospect of those 4. Actually, I think Terrace Marshall. I forgot Terrace Marshall as part of this question. I would say Elijah Moore still has the highest ceiling this season. Probably stash him, but I can make a case for any of those guys. Maybe Pittman aside, who has not shown up. Full PPR flex, Jacoby Myers, Brandon Ayuk, or Marvin Jones. Again, you can't start Ayuk. I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers there. Start 2 in half PPR, Swift, Mitchell, Mike Williams. I think that you have to just go with Mitchell and Mike Williams just because we don't know the status of DeAndre Swift. It sucks, but Mitchell's a good enough play. Mike Williams is a good enough play. I would probably just go that route. Need 2 from this group in PPR, Tyson, Javonte, Tyler Boyd, James White. I really like Tyler Boyd today. Good slot matchup for him against Chicago. I would probably go with him since this is a full PPR league. And then I would probably go with Tyson Williams. Because I might go Javonte. There. Start 2 PPR, Edmonds, Mitchell, Javonte, or Sutton. I'm going to go with Sutton and Edmonds in a PPR league. Packers defense or the Cardinals defense. I'm going to go with the Packers defense. Goff or Matt Ryan in Superflex. I'm going to go with Matt Ryan. I say that not confidently because I'm really, really worried about that Atlanta offensive line going up against Tampa Bay. Half PPR sit 1, Mitchell, Tyson, or Claypool. Look, if you need floor, then I would just play the running backs. If you need more of a ceiling, then obviously you're going to sit one of the running backs. And if you need that ceiling, throw Claypool in there. And I would start Mitchell very, very, just not by much, but I would start Mitchell over Tyson this week. Pick 2, non-PPR, Jacoby Myers, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Rondale Moore, Anthony Schwartz. I'm going to go with, okay. So I think between Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler, he's a safer bet. He played more snaps, ran more routes last week. Last year he had a pretty underrated target share in that offense, but I think KJ Hamler is a very, very intriguing play. Non-PPR, I don't like Jacoby Myers as much. I'm going to go with KJ Hamler here, and I want to say Anthony Schwartz, just because I think that he has the ability to have a big play too. Let's get ballsy a little bit. KJ Hamler and Anthony Schwartz, both big play threats in their offenses. I think Jacoby Myers is the safest option there, but in non-PPR, I'm just not as attracted. Teddy or Tanny at quarterback. I'd still go with Tanny, although Teddy is my number 1 streamer this week. Superflex in a half PPR league. Darnold versus New Orleans, who shut down Rodgers, or AB in a smash versus Atlanta. Did I frame that enough? Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I'd still go with Darnold. I still lean quarterback in those situations, but I can understand if you don't want to do that. Robert Tonyan or Jonnu Smith. I'm going to go with Tonyan. I just think the offense is bound to score a lot of points. I think their implied total right now is like 30. Full point PPR, Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Devin Singletary, or James White. I will go with Rondale Moore there for ceiling and James White for floor. Hey, JJ, PPR flex, choose 2. Hunt, Boyd, James Robinson, Jamal Williams. I'll go with the first 2. Sit 1, Higgins, Debo, Robert Woods, or Javonte Williams. If it's a PPR league, I'm going to sit Javonte Williams. Start 1 in the flex, full PPR, Landry, Antonio Brown, or Brandon Cooks. I think Landry is probably the safest option there. I'm going to go with Landry over AB. I know that might be a little bit controversial. AB has a really good matchup as well, but AB still only saw 15 to 16% of the team's targets in week 1. Landry should see 25+% of Cleveland's targets this week in a very good matchup against Houston. Mayfield over Teddy, Tannehill, and Winston. I would play Tannehill, but I can understand it. Pick 1 PPR, Chase Claypool, Devontae Smith, Brandon Cooks. I will go Devontae Smith. Juju or Tyson in half PPR. I'm going to go Tyson. Pick 1 PPR, Rob Gronkowski or Robert Tonyan. I'll go with Gronk. Jamar Chase or DeAndre Swift, with Swift now questionable. It sounds like he's going to play. Yeah, look, I mean, I would at least have a backup if you're playing DeAndre Swift. Have like MVS or something on your bench you can swap him in for. That's what I'm doing in a league. So, for instance, I have Elijah Mitchell in a league where I have DeAndre Swift. I put Swift in my flex. I have Elijah Mitchell at my RB2 spot, and then I have MVS on my bench in case something does happen to DeAndre Swift. Otherwise, I was going to play someone like Devontae Smith, who, I like Devontae Smith straight up more than Elijah Mitchell, but in a situation like this, I would rather just play it a little bit safer. Pick 3 PPR, Debo, Devontae Smith, Mike Williams, Landry, Antonio Brown. I'll go with Debo, Mike Williams, and Landry. That's very good. I mean, sitting Antonio Brown and Devontae Smith is rough, but I think that's the direction I would go. Troutman, Conklin, Pharaoh Brown for tight end. I'm going to go with Troutman. He saw a huge target share last week. Full PPR, Darrell Henderson or Javonte Williams. I'm going Darrell Henderson. Tyson Williams or MVS in full PPR. I mean, I want to say MVS in full PPR. I think Tyson Williams is safer, though. Corey Davis, Javonte Williams, or Jacoby Myers in half PPR. I would probably go with... I'm going to go with Corey Davis, regrettably. That one's pretty tough. PPR flex, choose 1. Robbie Anderson, Boyd, Waddle, Myers. I'm going to go with Boyd. Full PPR, pick 3. AJ Brown, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson. How is that your team? How are these guys on your team? I will sit Deontay. Hi, JJ. Happy Sunday. What's your favorite type of coffee? I don't drink coffee anymore, guys. I am all in on tea. I'm drinking some chamomile tea today. Flex, James Robinson, Tyson Williams, Corey Davis, Cortland Sutton, or Jalen Waddle. Thanks for all of your advice. I would go with Cortland Sutton there. Are you ready for some football? I am always ready for some football. JJ, in a half PPR format, 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 7-player bench league, would you keep Cole Kmet or add Troutman or Johnson and keep Trey Lance I would keep Trey Lance because he's your backup. And I would probably add Troutman. Elijah Mitchell or Tyler Boyd in PPR. I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd in a PPR format. If it was half PPR, maybe I'd lean Mitchell, but Mitchell didn't see love through the air last week. It's a little bit concerning. We still don't know exactly how they're going to split that backfield. I know Ian Rappaport said that Elijah Mitchell's going to see the majority of the work, but Rapp has, not saying that his sources are wrong or anything, but he's not been totally correct on everything that he's ever said. And so I would probably lean Boyd in that PPR matchup. Half PPR, Chase or Higgins. I'm assuming this is Jamar Chase and not Chase Edmonds. I am going to go with Higgins. JJ, half PPR, Claypool or Devontae Smith. I'm going to go Devontae Smith. Trey Sermon or Peyton Barber, hashtag FML. I'd go Trey Sermon, just hope for that positive game script. I do think Barber's going to be more involved than people expect, and he's probably going to see goal line work as well. But I'm going to go Trey Sermon and just throw that dart and hope that it hits. Pick one, Landry, DJ Moore, Miles Sanders, and full PPR. I'm going Landry. Non-PPR for a flex, Tim Patrick, MVS, Tyler Boyd, Emmanuel Sanders. I'm going Boyd again. Elijah Mitchell or Kareem Hunt. I'm going to go Kareem Hunt. Start one, half PPR, Jacoby Myers, Corey Davis, Mike Williams. I will start Mike Williams there. Half PPR, need for flex, Chase Claypool, Corey Davis, or Myles Gaskin. I'm going to go with Gaskin for floor and Claypool for ceiling and Corey Davis sort of in the middle there. So it depends on what your team needs. PPR, need one flex, Elijah Mitchell, Chase Claypool, Corey Davis. I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with Mitchell there and just play it safe. Nyheim Hines or Mike Davis. I will go with, I hate Mike Davis today, guys. I don't love Nyheim Hines really either, but he's seeing a huge target share. It's a full PPR league. I'm still going to go Mike Davis, but I think that's very, very close. Full PPR, James Robinson or Darrell Henderson. I'm going Darrell Henderson. Gaskins or Sutton. I'm going to go Sutton in a full PPR league. Hey, JJ, Debo at Philly or Julio in Seattle. I want to lean Julio there, just like that game environment a little bit more. James White or Peyton Barber. Depends if it's PPR or not. I think regardless, I'd go with James White. Christian Kirk or Marquez Callaway. I think you got to go with Kirk given the game environment, the fact that Callaway didn't see a huge target share last week. But I think it's pretty close. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Callaway saw like a 20% target share today. Hey, JJ, I'm worried about Wentz against the Rams defense. Should I start Elijah Mitchell over him in a Superflex PPR league? I would probably still go with Carson Wentz, but I can understand if you want to do that. Full PPR, Tim Patrick or Jacoby Myers in the flex. I think Myers is a little bit safer because we just don't know exactly how they're going to utilize a guy like Patrick. But I think Patrick might just be the play. I just don't really love that Patriots Jets game all that much. Myers is, they're both sort of in the same tier for me. Worth dropping James White for JJ Taylor in a PPR dynasty league? No. Bench one in PPR, Robbie Anderson, Tim Patrick, Corey Davis. I'd bench Tim Patrick, I think. Hurts or Tannehill? I'm going to go with Hurts. Let's see. I feel sick asking this. Javonte Williams or Peyton Barber? Easily Javonte Williams for me. PPR Corey Davis. Oh, I just lost my spot. Sorry about that. Let's see. Elijah Mitchell or Miles Sanders. I'm going Miles Sanders. Damian Harris versus AB in a half PPR. I think Damian Harris could be in store for a pretty big game. AB obviously has the ceiling, I would say, just because he can gain those chunk yards, but I might go Damian Harris there. Chase Edmonds or Brandon Cooks in PPR. I'm going Chase Edmonds. Pick two PPR, Debo, DJ Moore, Antonio Brown, Robert Woods. I'm going the first two. Hey, JJ, need one in full PPR, Ayuk, Terrace Marshall, or AJ Green. I guess I'm going, I might take a risk with Ayuk with this one and just hope that he's involved a little bit more. Teddy Bridgewater or Joe Burrow. I'd probably still go with Joe Burrow. Hey, JJ, love the show. Half PPR, flex, and a wide receiver spot. Pick two. Devontae Smith, Claypool, Julio, Kenyon Drake. I wouldn't be playing Kenyon Drake over those guys. Let's go Devontae Smith and Julio. Pick one of Tyson Williams, Brandon Cooks, or Devontae Smith in non-PPR. Non-PPR, I might go with Tyson. Gaskin or Sutton, I already answered that one. I went Sutton. Trey Sermon or Latavius Murray, I will go with Latavius Murray. Half PPR, Javonte Williams or Elijah Mitchell. I'm going Elijah Mitchell just because there's a higher likelihood that he's the bell cow, but I like Javonte Williams. He's in a split backfield, basically a 50-50 split. going up against Jacksonville and what should be a positive game script. Jamal Williams, Tyson Williams, or Tyler Boyd. If it's a PPR league, I'm just going to assume PPR whenever you guys don't specify. So I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd. Full PPR, pick 2, DJ Moore, Debo Samuel, and Jamar Chase. I'll go with the first 2. Sit 1, Higgins, Debo, Woods, or Javonte. I will sit Javonte of those 3. PPR pick 2, Robert Woods, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Corey Davis, Mike Williams. I'll go AJ Brown for sure. And I will probably go with Devontae, but I think that you can make a case for Robert Woods. The only reason I'm not going with Robert Woods is because of his usage last week. Van Jefferson played a lot. He actually played just as much as Robert Woods. Ridley, Keenan Allen, and Debo pick 2. I'm just going to go with the first 2. Drake or Mitchell or Claypool in half PPR. I will go with Mitchell, but I think Claypool has the higher ceiling. Pick 2, Tyson, Singletary, Connor, LaVisca. Definitely Tyson of that group. Non-PPR, I guess I'm going to go with Connor because I think that he has a higher likelihood to find the end zone. But I think actually I might go Tyson and LaVisca there. Pick 1 in standard, Everett, Troutman, or Kmet. Let's go with Cole Kmet there. Hey JJ, love the show and the podcast. Full PPR, Tim Patrick or Jacoby Myers. Answered this one earlier. I think it's a toss up. I might just go with Tim Patrick and see how they utilize him because I just don't think Jacoby Myers is like this amazing ceiling. Let's see. Mr. Flacco, Tyson or Gaskin in half PPR. Probably lean Gaskin, but it's pretty close. PPR, Higgins, Julio, or Sanders need a ceiling. If you need a ceiling, I'd go Julio. Start, sit, JJ or Field Yates. Definitely sit JJ. Gaskin or Sutton. Mike, I've answered this 13 times. It's Sutton. Sutton over Gaskin. That's the way that I'm going. Sermon or A.J. Dillon. I will go with A.J. Dillon there. Drop Zach Moss for J.J. Taylor. I think that's about the line. If Zach Moss is like your RB6 or something, sure. If he's like your RB3 or 4, probably not. Emmanuel Sanders or Tyson Williams in half PPR. I'm going to go with Tyson Williams. I think he's a little bit safer, but I love me some Emmanuel Sanders. Who's my PPR flex? Gronk, Melvin Gordon, Corey Davis, Chase Claypool, or Chase Edmonds. I will go with Chase Edmonds there. Devontae Parker or Manny Sanders. I'm going to go Manny Sanders. I love me some Manny Sanders today. You got a banged up Gabe Davis. He should be fine. Mike Williams or T. Higgins. I think I might go with Mike Williams. Half PPR, Jamal Williams, Tyson, or Boyd. I'll go Tyson there, but I think that you can go with Boyd if you want a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, I love Boyd this week. Let's go with Tyler Boyd. AB or Higgins in non-PPR. I'm going to go with AB. Mr. Flacco, I already answered that one. Again, I answered that one. Hey, JJ, thanks for doing this. Half PPR. Pick 1 for flex. James Robinson, Jacoby Myers, KJ Hamler, Visca Chenault, Rondell Moore. I will go in a half PPR league. I think that the floor play, probably the safest play is Jacoby Myers. Half PPR second flex spot, Corey Davis or Kenyon Drake. I'm going Corey Davis. PPR, Damian Harris or Elijah Mitchell. Let's go with Damian Harris, a little bit better of a matchup. But I can make an argument for Elijah Mitchell there too. Half PPR flex and a wide receiver spot, pick 2. Devontae Smith, Claypool, Julio, Kenyon Drake. I think I answered this one earlier, Devontae and Julio. PPR, James White, Callaway, or Emmanuel Sanders. I am going to go with Emmanuel Sanders. Half PPR, Javonte Williams, Tyson, or Boyd. I'm going to lean Boyd. Elijah Mitchell or Mike Davis. I'm going Elijah Mitchell. Full PPR, pick T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyson Williams, or Devontae Smith. Probably going to go with T. Higgins there. Sermon or A.J. Dillon. I'm going A.J. Dillon. Pick 1, Kirk, MVS, or Landry. Definitely going Landry there. Pick 1 of Tyson Williams, Brandon Cooks, or Devontae Smith in non-PPR. I think I'd go Devontae Smith probably, but I think Tyson's pretty close. JJ, start 3 in full PPR. Sanders, Patrick, MVS, Terrace Marshall, Michael Pittman, Julio. I'm going Sanders and Julio for sure. And then I'll probably go with MVS as my third. Pick 1 of Tyson Williams. I already answered that one. Henderson, Waddle, or LaVisca in the flex and half PPR. I'm going Henderson there. Robert Woods or Tyson in half PPR. I think I'd go Robert Woods. PPR need 1 flex. Mike Williams, Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith. Probably go with Miles Sanders, but actually PPR, I might go with Mike Williams. Henry/Hunt or Chubb/MG3. I'm going with the first one. Pick 1 of Tyson Williams. I already answered that. Ridley, Keenan Allen, and Debo. Pick 2 full PPR. I think I answered this one too. I'm going with the first 2. I'm going to have to scroll down a little bit because people are spamming. Full PPR, James White or Gainwell or Tony Jones. I'd go with James White, but I don't mind Gainwell. You guys should all have added Gainwell this week. Claypool, Drake, or Mitchell in half PPR. I think Mitchell's safest. I think I answered this one earlier too. Julio or Elijah Mitchell in full PPR. In full PPR, I'm going Julio. Hey JJ, who are you paying up for on FanDuel today? I'm locking in Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, CeeDee Lamb, and Darren Waller in most of my lineups. But if you want to pay up, just go for like an Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook. And then you can obviously stack guys like DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler Murray. Drake or James White in PPR. I think I'd go Drake and just hope that they utilize him more than we expect. Hey, JJ, need one in a full PPR. Ayuk, Terrace Marshall, or AJ Green. Answered this one earlier. I'm going Ayuk, just hoping that they use him more. Pick one of Tyson Williams, Brandon Cooks, or Devontae Smith in non-PPR. I will go, I think I answered this one too. Corey Davis or Tyler Boyd, full PPR. Let's go Tyler Boyd. I really like Tyler Boyd today, as I've been saying. Full PPR pick two, Mike Davis, Melvin Gordon, James Robinson. I don't really love all these options. I think I'll go with the last two. I just do not like Mike Davis going up against Tampa Bay today. Pick one RB2, Tyson Williams or Gaskin. I'm going to go Gaskin in a full PPR league. Emmanuel Sanders or Tyson Williams in half PPR. I'm going Tyson. Let's see. Sorry, it randomly skips forward, so I have to find my spot again. Hey, JJ, love the show. Pick one standard scoring. Debo, Corey Davis, Antonio Brown, or Chase Claypool. I'm going with Debo there. Patrick or Pittman in standard. I'm going Patrick. Pick two, Chase Edmonds, Claypool, or Thielen. Let's go with Edmonds and Thielen and get that game stack going. Half PPR flex option, Javonte Williams, Tyson Williams, or MVS. I would go with Tyson, but I think it's very close between all three. Love the show and the pod, JJ. Thanks. Half PPR, Dylan versus Kirk versus Ayuk versus Van Jefferson. I will go with, oh man, I guess Kirk, I guess. But I think that you can go Ayuk for ceiling. Dylan's sort of in the middle. Big Ben or Teddy? I'm going Teddy. Pick one, Gaskin, Callaway, Pittman, or Ayuk at the flex. I'd probably go Gaskin. Hey, JJ, love the show and the pod. Thanks. Sutton, Claypool, or Devontae Smith, full PPR. I'm going to lean Sutton there, but I think that you can make a case for the other guys. Full PPR, three of Shenault, T. Higgins, Mike Davis, Jamal Williams, Edmonds, DJ Chark. I'm going to go with Chark, Edmonds, and Higgins. Full PPR pick two, Beasley, Robbie Anderson, Elijah Moore, Tim Patrick, Terrace Marshall. I will go with Robbie and Beasley. Swift or Devontae. I'm not sure which Devontae you're referring to because there's now more than one. I'm assuming it's Devontae Smith. I would just play Devontae Smith over Swift. And then, I mean, and unless you have like an MVS type option that you can throw into your flex for DeAndre Swift. Patrick or Pittman, I'm going Patrick. Pick one PPR, Mike Williams, Eli Mitchell, Devontae Smith. I will go with Mike Williams there. Julio, Claypool, or Boyd in half PPR. I'm going to go Julio. Hey, JJ, full PPR pick two. I just answered that one. Drop Singletary for Gainwell. Yeah, I would do that. Mike Davis or James Robinson in half PPR. Probably still go with Mike Davis just because of the usage that we saw from James Robinson last week. Let's see. Mike Davis or Gainwell in full PPR. I just answered that one. Sorry, I got to change my screen for a second. Bear with me. All right. Sorry about that. Do you love Javonte today? Love is too strong of a word. I like Javonte Williams. I think that he's a good flex play. Elijah Mitchell or Corey Davis, full PPR. I'm going to go Elijah Mitchell. Tannehill or Living the Stream, parentheses, Teddy. I'm going Tannehill over Teddy this week. Need one, half PPR, Williams, Boyd, or Davis. I don't know off the top of my head which Williams you're referring to. It could be Tyson. It could be Mike. So I'm going to skip over that one. Half PPR, pick one, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, or Jacoby Myers. I'm going to go probably with Devontae Smith, but I think that you can make a case for Jamar Chase there. Pick two, non-PPR, Marvin Jones, Robbie Anderson, Tim Patrick, Latavius Murray, MVS, AJ Dillon. I will go with Robbie and Tim Patrick. Corey Davis or Elijah Mitchell. I'm going with Elijah Mitchell. Start two in PPR, Javonte Williams, Tyson Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Shenault, and Beasley. I'll go with Tyson and Elijah Mitchell. Jamal Williams or Tyson in full PPR. Probably go with Jamal Williams because I think there's a chance we see him featured a little bit more, and it's a full PPR league. If it was a standard league, I might go Tyson, but full PPR, give me the guy who caught a lot of passes last week. Appreciate all of your work. Half PPR, James Robinson, Tyson, or Drake. I'm going to go with Tyson. Half PPR start 2, looking for floor. Gaskin, Mitchell, Javonte, Robinson, or Mike Davis. I think Mitchell's probably the floor. Gaskin might be, but I'm going to lean Mitchell. Do you think Troutman or Juwan Johnson is worth a pickup? I think they both are technically. You just got to hope that Juwan Johnson starts to see more of a role as the season goes on. But Troutman was second in the NFL last year last week in target share behind only Darren Waller. Missed the beginning. Any last minute recommendation ads based on inactive this week? Yes. Just to reiterate what I said at the beginning, JJ Taylor would be my ad this week. Don't expect him to be Elijah Mitchell. But JJ Taylor is going to be stepping in for Ramondre Stevenson, who is inactive after that fumble last week. Gronk or Darrell Henderson, I'm going Darrell Henderson. Tim Patrick, Rondale Moore, Brian Edwards, Elijah Moore, I'm going Tim Patrick. Pick 2 half PPR, Singletary, Chase, Melvin Gordon. I will bench Singletary there. Need 1 and half PPR, Mike Williams, Boyd, or Davis. I think I'd go Mike Davis in half PPR. You get more touchdown equity. Half PPR, Swift or Elijah Mitchell. I think you got to go with Elijah Mitchell. Hey, JJ, big fan of the show. Thanks. Half point PPR, need to drop 1 for a defense and might not get them back. Tyson Williams, Melvin Gordon, Jamal Williams. I think that you could, man, I guess I would drop Melvin Gordon. Need 1 and half PPR. Mike Williams, I just answered that one. Full PPR for my flex, Marquise Brown, Chase Claypool, Corey Davis, Elijah Mitchell, or Robbie Anderson. I will go with Elijah Mitchell. Waddle, Sermon, Callaway start 2. I will start Waddle and Callaway. Evans or AB. I think it's a Mike Evans week. He didn't see a huge target share last week, but really good matchup for him. I think that he could go off. He's also a pretty good DFS play at $6,700 over on FanDuel. Start 2, full PPR. Jamar Chase, Mike Williams, Devontae Smith. I'm going to go with the last 2. Jacoby Myers versus Christian Kirk. I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. Goddard or pick up a waiver wire tight end in full PPR. I'd probably just play Goddard. Rodgers or Russell Wilson need floor. I would probably go with Russell Wilson. Drop Callaway for JJ Taylor in PPR. Probably not. Cedric Wilson or Barber in standard flex. I'd go Cedric Wilson. Should get some slot play this week. Drop Cordero Patterson for JJ Taylor. I think that's probably worth it. Yeah, I think that's okay. Drop Tony Jones for JJ Taylor. Now I get all these JJ Taylor drop questions. I would keep Tony Jones. Jalen Reagor or Cordero. I already answered the Cordero one. Ertz or Cooks. I'm assuming that's Jared Cook. I would go Jared Cook over Zach Ertz. I love Jared Cook today. Julio or Brandon Cooks. I'm going Julio. Mitchell or Edmonds. I'd probably go Edmonds. Full PPR pick 2, Swift, Lockett, CEH. Just go with the last 2 because we don't know Swift's status. Manny Sanders, MVS, or Jacoby Myers. I love Manny Sanders today. I love Manny Sanders and MVS tomorrow. I'm probably going to go Manny Sanders, though. Jamal Williams, Javonte Williams, or Devontae Smith. I'm going Devontae and probably in non-PPR, Javonte. Beasley versus Gaskin. It depends if it's a PPR league or not. Half PPR pick 2, James Robinson, MVS, Christian Kirk. Love what you're doing, man. Appreciate it. I'd go MVS and probably James Robinson. Just hope for that negative game script. If you want to go with Kirk, go ahead and go with Kirk. I just think last week was a little bit fluky. Full PPR, Rojo or AJ Dillon. As much as I want to say AJ Dillon there, I think I'd probably go Rojo. Just hope that they utilize him the way that we want them to utilize him. Claypool or Shenault. I shouldn't say that. Utilize him the way that you probably hope that he would be utilized. Claypool or Shenault. I would go with Claypool. Matt Ryan or Sam Darnold. Neither. Can I say neither? I'd probably go with Matt Ryan, but I don't like either of them this week. I'd rather just stream with like Teddy Bridgewater. Pick 2, full PPR, Chase Higgins or AB. I'm going with the last 2. PPR, Mitchell or Darrell Henderson. I'm going Darrell Henderson. Elijah, I don't know what Elijah you're talking about because it could be more. I'm assuming it's Mitchell or Mike Davis. I'm going Elijah Mitchell over Mike Davis. Stashing Fields over Lance since he will start first. That's fine. Half PPR, pick 1, Hamler, MVS, or Christian Kirk. I really like the first 2. They were both on my podcast this week as sleepers. I'm going to go MVS, but wouldn't shock me at all if Hamler does work today. Half PPR, Devontae Smith or Elijah Mitchell. I think the safer play is Elijah Mitchell, but Devontae Smith, it doesn't matter. I think you can go either direction there. If you need floor, Elijah Mitchell's a lock to see some work. Drop Hasty for JJ Taylor, yes. 1 point PPR, Gaskin versus Beasley. I would go Gaskin. Buffalo, Arizona, or Carolina D. I'd go Buffalo. Let's see, Swift or Mike Williams at the flex. I'm just going to go with Mike Williams if it's a PPR league, just because of the Swift injury. Again, anything that's Swift related, have a backup if you're going to use him. It would be very, very helpful. Drake or Elijah Mitchell. I'm going to go with Elijah Mitchell. I got one more question that I can answer, and then we are going to switch streams here. But I will go with the half PPR pick 1, Swift, Sermon, Hyde, Tony Jones. In that case, I would just risk it and go with DeAndre Swift. But that's going to do it, everyone. There should be another stream hopping on here in just a second with Liv and Josh. They're going to be answering some of these start-sit questions. They are going to be, there's Liv. They will be answering some start-sit questions. There's Josh. And talking some NFL betting. So guys, take it away. I got to go rest my brain a little bit after that. I will talk to you guys later.
I don't blame you, JJ. That was intense. A lot of questions. You got to a lot of start-sit questions there.
Every week.
Very good job.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks, JJ. How is everyone doing? FanDuel family, and welcome. We are here to talk some betting heading into week 2 of the NFL season. Please feel free to ask any NFL betting questions you might have. We're about 30 minutes away from kickoff, and I am excited for week 2. Let's go. My name is Josh Fuster. You can follow me on Twitter at FYFJosh, and I'm joined today by Liv Moody. She works for the Volume Sports and also works with us over here at FanDuel. You can find her on all platforms at Liv Moods, LIVMOODS on all platforms. Liv, are you excited for week 2 of the NFL season?
I am, but to be honest with you, I'm feeling like a little bit of pressure. I went 3-0 last Sunday, and you know how betting works. I mean, you get a really hot weekend, and just like any other person in gambling, you're bound to lose at some point. And I think week 2 is kind of the overreaction week, and it's that fine line of, okay, dogs were great in week 1, 12-4 against the spread. Do we see that again? I have a lot of favorites as my pick. So of course that makes me nervous because you've always got those dogs that come out of nowhere. So I'm a little more nervous this week, to be honest, but I've got my picks. They're locked in. So there's no going back now. I've got to just push through.
I mean, 3-0 week 1 is pretty good. It was kind of a weird week. I feel like a lot of people had some trouble making some of their locks, their favorite picks. For me personally, I'm right there with you, Liv. Going into week 2 of the NFL season, I love capitalizing on overreactions from week 1. Look, I get it. It's week 1. It's the first time we actually get to see these players on the field, but week 1 does not typically tell the whole story. Last year, the Bucs, they lost week 1. They won the Super Bowl. The Jaguars won week 1, and they have not won a game since. So let's take advantage of those people overreacting. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just like you, week 1, I typically like to take the underdogs. I like to take the points because we don't really have a lot of data to go off of. But week 2, we got a little bit data to work with, right?
Yep, absolutely.
That's what I like to hear. So, like JJ mentioned, there are a lot of good start questions in the chat, but we're going to focus on our betting questions today. But let's see. Lamar Jameis, you got to go Lamar there. Saints or Bucs defense. I'm going to lean the Saints defense actually in that one. So let's just get into some betting stuff, right? Let's get into
absolutely.
it. So we were talking a little before the stream here. You had a couple locks. I've got a couple locks. I got a couple picks I like. Let me just share the screen here so we can actually go through the FanDuel Sportsbook. Just give me a second here. Perfect. All right, I got the screen up. Perfect. All right, so where do you want to go first here, Liv? What do you want to focus on?
So the first game that I'm actually looking at, and I guess I should probably go in order. Well, I think actually. I guess I am technically in order. My first spread, the first spread that I like is Saints -3.5. And, this is a tough one for me because I actually feel like the Saints and the Panthers played pretty similarly in week 1 in terms of yards allowed and how their offense performed. However, they went up against very different opponents. You have the Saints who dominated the Green Bay Packers, a team that brought back the majority of their starters and had Aaron Rodgers. They dominated the Packers. And then you've got the Panthers, on the other hand, who kept it pretty close with a team like the Jets. And I don't really have a ton of faith in a team like the Jets, but I think it's worth noting, the Panthers put a lot of great pressure on Zach Wilson. I think he had 6 sacks and the defense forced 2 interceptions. So the defense looked really strong for the Panthers. The Saints also had great defense, only allowing 43 rushing yards to the Packers. The Panthers held the Jets to only 45 rushing yards up against the Jets team. So I think this is going to be a very pass-heavy game, which makes me look at the QBs. In this situation, I'm looking at Jameis Winston or I'm looking at Sam Darnold. And maybe it's the excitement and the overreaction like we talked about coming off of week 1, but I loved the way Jameis Winston looked. He had 5 touchdowns on only 20 attempts. So if you're asking me, out of those two QBs, who do you feel more comfortable with? I would go ahead and say Jameis Winston. And so I think that's why I am riding with the Packers in this one, because like I said, both teams performed pretty similarly in week one, which makes it tough to try to figure out what this game is going to look like. But I think we see a very pass heavy matchup because both of these teams were great with the rushing defense. So pass heavy game, that makes me rely on the QBs. I have more faith in Winston than I do in Darnold. So I am taking Saints -3.5 in this one.
I love it. And it's actually on the FanDuel Sportsbook here. It just changed. The Saints are -3 now. So you got to like that even more, right? Let's go.
Absolutely.
At awesome. 3.5, I was a little close on this game. This one's tough for me. You mentioned Sam Darnold, Jameis Winston. I really think it's going to come down to who has the better game there. These are two former number one overall picks going head to head. Kind of had a roller coaster of a career so far on each side, but and they're both with teams that are different from the teams that drafted them. I think Jameis Winston is going to have another good game. People are worried because he only had 148 passing yards last week against the Packers, but 5 touchdowns. I know there was a couple passes that were a little iffy, but I am looking for him to have another big game as well. I love this pick, especially now that the line's changed a little bit.
Absolutely. -3. That makes me feel a whole lot better. So because that hook can really get you. So I'm actually loving the -3 for the Saints in this one. Yeah, that's a great move on the FanDuel Sportsbooks end.
All right. It looks like we got some questions here in the chat. We have Travis coming in and asking Tanny, over under 257.5 passing yards. 257.5 passing yards. And let me actually go to the prop and see what the line is actually sitting at the moment. In the FanDuel Sportsbook. So the Titans game, where are we? There we go. Against the Seahawks. And actually, I want to get into this game in a minute because this is actually one of the games that I am picking against the spread as well. Passing yards, Tannehill. So right now, you got it right. You got it right, Travis. 257.5 passing yards. And I am actually, I know this line moved up. This line moved up. I was looking at this line earlier in the week, and I think it was at like 245, I believe. At 257, I have a tough time taking this. I think I like the under here, personally, 257. Tannehill, I do expect a better game from him going forward, but I do think this is the week that Derrick Henry gets a little bit more right against the Seahawks. So I'm taking the under on 257.5 on Tannehill. Do you have any opinion here, Liv?
Not a huge opinion. I've been hot on the Cardinals since the very beginning. So I was fading the Titans in week one big time, and people did not really like me for that one. I took a lot of heat for that bet. Cardinals +3 in week one. So to be honest with you, I don't think we saw enough of this Titans team at their best in week one to be able to I'm personally not laying any money on this game just because Seahawks didn't do a whole lot for me in week one. Titans didn't show up to me at all up against the Cardinals. So this is one of those games that I would go like this and just walk away slowly.
More than fair enough. More than fair enough.
Absolutely.
There's actually one player prop in this game that I absolutely love. And we're here. Might as well get into it, right? And it involves the rushing yards, and it's Chris Carson at 67.5 rushing yards. And I love the over here. Listen, week one against the Colts, Carson had 19 carries for 91 yards and had 5.7 yards per carry. And I fully expect a very similar game this week. Chris Carson's a very good running back. They got some injuries in that backfield already for the Seahawks. I think Chris Carson is the guy he's going to get at least 15 carries again this week. So this is a smash play for me. Over on 67.5 rushing yards for Chris Carson.
I love it. If you've got a game like that in week one, it's really hard to not want to take the over again in week two for a guy that has, did you say 5.7 yards per carry? I mean, that's pretty impressive. Yep. So I would be riding with you on that one for sure.
All right, let's go. So you also mentioned there was a couple other games that you really liked this week, right, Liv?
Yes.
What was the next one there?
Another spread that I like in this one is Cardinals -3.5. Like I said, I have been hot on this Cardinals team since the beginning. I really love them. I think they've got a lot of powerful playmakers on this team. Kyler Murray looked awesome in week 1. Then you've got Chandler Jones on defense. They just look pretty great on both sides of the ball. And not to mention, this is their season opener. This is their home opener. They're at home. So if they were able to play the way they played on the road up against the Titans, and the Titans aren't a bad team. So to be able to play the way they played up against the Titans, and now they're getting that home field advantage coming off of an awesome win. I just really like the Cardinals in this one, -3.5. You know, the Vikings didn't do a whole lot for me. They definitely did not impress me in week 1, losing to the Bengals. And Cousins was sacked 5 times and hit 7 times. And then you've got Chandler Jones walking away with 5 sacks in week 1. Makes me a little nervous for Kirk Cousins in this situation. So unless Kirk Cousins has some sort of protection, I think we see another game similar to week 1 with the Cardinals and the Titans, where the Cardinals just have a heyday against this Vikings team. So if the O-line on the Vikings can't protect Kirk Cousins in this one, and then you've got Chandler Jones coming at him every play, I mean, I would be nervous if I were Cousins in this situation. So hopefully they have stepped up their protection for Cousins in week 2, and I think that's the only way they have a chance to hang in there. So I just think the Cardinals have more in their favor in this one. So again, I'm taking that -3.5.
I like this, Liv. I really do. I'm actually a bigger Cardinals fan than I think most people are out there. I've seen a lot of people like the Vikings on this one. And if I had to play devil's advocate, I think it's probably because like they played a very, very close game in overtime against the Bengals last week that Dalvin Cook kind of fumbled the game away. They had a ton of penalties, which is a little bit uncharacteristic with Mike Zimmer. And the Cardinals won big against the Titans. I mean, everyone knows they destroyed the Titans.
Absolutely.
But I do think the Titans were a bit disorganized going into that game. And I do think that isn't a great representation of who the Titans truly are. They had a lot of practice time due to COVID being missed, but I do like the Cardinals here. For me personally, I don't think I could bet on this one. So I'm hands off on this one.
That's
personally.
fine.
And it might be because actually the Cardinals coach and Cliff Kingsbury, I am not a big Cliff Kingsbury fan when it comes down to it. I'm not sure if he's a good NFL coach. I love Kyler Murray though, and I love that.
Oh, I love Kyler Murray. Yeah, this will be a fun game. I think that both teams have some mistakes that they need to clean up, and if they do everything right and clean up those mistakes from week 1 coming into week 2, I think we should see a pretty good matchup here. I just think that the Cardinals have a little bit more in their favor, and like you said, lots of penalties coming from the Vikings in week 1. It was, I think, 17 or something. I mean, it was like crazy amount of penalties. So if they can just tidy up some of those little mistakes here and there, I mean, we should see a good game, but I still got to ride with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to be one of those teams for me where I'm going to ride them until I can't anymore. Once they let me down, then I walk away. But until then, I'm just going to keep riding with them because I love the way they looked, and I think they're very exciting, and they've just got a lot going for them. So I'm definitely riding hot on the Cardinals this year. Don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I'm just being honest.
And I think you summed it up perfectly when you talked about the offensive line for the Vikings. If they can't keep Kirk Cousins upright in this game, then the Cardinals are winning this game handily, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about here. That's what it's all about here. I do have one game I wanted to quickly go into against the with the spread, and I know we were just talking about it, and it is the Seahawks and Titans. I understand, but we just talked about going into this. We love capitalizing on overreactions a little bit.
Absolutely.
Titans are getting 6.5 points against the Seahawks. All right, and I actually like taking the points. I know they're at home. I know the Seahawks are at home, but the Titans, they did get beat up by the Cardinals. I'm not going to deny that. But again, I think it was an overreaction on both sides of the card here. The Seahawks played well against the Colts. I think this game is a lot more even than the spread actually shows. I don't think the Seahawks will be able to kill the Titans like the Cardinals did through the pass rush. I think the Titans offense really gets Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, and Ryan Tannehill like all involved in rolling this week. I would not be surprised if just like the last team that has the ball in their hands gets the win in this game. 6.5 seems kind of like a crazy number to me. I feel like it should be more like 4.5 personally. So I like taking the Titans with points in this game. How does that make you feel?
Like I said, hard for me to make a judgment call on this Titans team just because I don't think we truly saw what they're capable of in week 1. I think you said it best. I don't think they came prepared, to be honest with you. I think they might have just thought that it was an easy win and they weren't as prepared as they should have been. So hard for me to make a call on this team, but 6.5 points up against 2 strong teams. That's a lot of points. And like I said earlier, if you missed what I said, the Dogs were 12-4 against the spread last week. So we saw a lot more dogs covering than not last week. So
yes.
it definitely doesn't bother me. And I am more likely to take a dog to cover than I am to take a favorite to cover, just because of that overreaction. I say that, and I've just given 2 favorites that are going to cover. So I kind of contradicted myself just a little bit, but 3.5 is very different to me than 6.5.
It is.
Now you're talking about a whole
very different. Very different.
Yes. And so that's why in this situation, I don't hate the plus 6.5. I love the dogs to cover. I had a crazy 7-leg parlay last week, plus 9,228 odds in the FanDuel Sportsbook. And believe it or not, it was the Green Bay Packers who ruined the entire parlay. I had the Browns to cover at plus 5.5. I had the Seahawks or the Eagles to cover at plus 3. I had
Eagles was a great bet last week.
Yes, it was.
I made some money on that one.
I had the Cardinals to cover at plus 3. I had Steelers to cover at plus 6.5. I had the under in the Broncos Giants game, Raiders to cover at plus 4.5. So literally all dogs covering and an under. And then the one favorite was the Green Bay Packers minus, what was the spread? 3.5. It was 3.5.
Yeah.
And boy, did that leg
that one hurt.
Huh? Destroy my whole entire week. So really tough. But again, worth noting that the dogs were covering incredibly in week 1. So you can absolutely see that again. Just keep in mind that the dogs, they performed well in week 1, and we could see that again in week 2. So I don't hate it. I don't hate the plus 6.5.
I like taking the points in this one. Like we just said, I do see another question here in the chat. A couple player props. Waddle with over under 48.5 yards. Personally, one of my player props that I wanted to talk about actually was Waddle with over 3.5 catches. Waddle had 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown in week 1 against the Patriots. And now he's going against the Bills in week 2. I do expect more scoring in week 2 against the Bills. You might be concerned because of Will Fuller coming back, but he's supposed to come back from a suspension in week 2, but he will miss week 2 due to personal reasons. So yes, Jalen Waddle, he's a rookie, but he looked awesome last week. I actually expect him to get more and more involved in this offense as the year goes along. I expect Tua to improve. I am hammering all the Jalen Waddle overs in this game personally. So yeah, Asu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Waddle over. I'm definitely taking the over 48.5.
I love it. I think you just talked about something that I just want to, I don't have an opinion on those player props, but I absolutely love, this is going to sound so bad. I love when there's an injury, not because I love that someone is injured, but it makes it way easier for me with player props to try to figure out, okay, this person's gone. So who is going to get that more involvement? Like you talked about, like who is going to be more involved in offense that we typically don't see. I think that always helps me when it comes to player props. I felt that way about the Ravens team when they lost their top 3 running backs.
Yeah.
Kind of my brain was like, okay, I think there's going to be more passing in this one. I'm going to look at the receivers since their running backs are out. So injuries always help me for whatever reason, which I know is super unfortunate because you never want anyone to be injured, but it definitely does help when it comes to picking player props.
No doubt.
Broncos, that's my team.
Oh, are they? You're a Broncos Ravens fan personally myself.
Born and raised in Denver. I'm going to be honest. I was a really, really bad Broncos fan last year. I kind of jumped off the bandwagon because they were so bad that I was like, I can't even watch anymore. I didn't even watch them. It was so hard for me to watch. But I got to say, Teddy Bridgewater in week 1, I think he surprised a lot of people. I know he surprised me. I definitely thought that Teddy Bridgewater was the way to go for this Broncos team. I think Drew Lock, he's had his time. I think it's time for him to move on. And I hate saying that, but I just think it's the truth. I think at the end of the day, Vic Fangio knows that his job is kind of on the line this year. I mean, there's a lot of pressure from a coaching perspective of we've got to win games. Like that's end of discussion. Take your emotions out of it. The Broncos knew they needed to win this year. I think Teddy Bridgewater looked awesome in week 1. If anything, I kind of watched that game. I was more nervous and disappointed in the receiving end of the game. He had great passes to his receivers and a lot of dropped passes that should not have been dropped. So I think Teddy came prepared, and I don't know if the receivers were ready for a fighter like him who's going to throw the ball regardless, and he's going to get it to you. You just have to be ready for it. So I loved the Broncos. I'm sure I don't know if you have some player props in this one because there's a lot I think that you can look at in this matchup just because the Broncos looked really good. And you've got guys like KJ Hamler that dropped some passes, but that's very out of character for him. So I would actually love to, as a Broncos fan, I would love to know your thoughts on this matchup because I've got to take my bias out of the equation for a little bit. But I would love to know how you feel about this one because I thought they looked awesome.
Well, I wanted to bring this up because first we had a question about Sutton with an over-under of 53.5 receiving yards. And then I just, you brought it up. I thought Teddy Bridgewater looked fantastic as well. I think he was pretty good. I mean, outside of the touchdown category, he was good at getting the receivers the ball last year with the Panthers. He supported 3 1,000 wide receivers last year with the Panthers. So he can support multiple receivers. You mentioned KJ Hamler with some drops. I wanted to focus on Courtland Sutton a little bit here. Jerry Jeudy, we were just talking about injuries and we kind of like capitalizing on that. Do you think Courtland Sutton gets more involved with this offense now that there's no Jerry Jeudy? I mean, he's coming off of a pretty bad injury from last season. I think a lot of people expected more than one catch for 14 yards last week. So do you think he can get over this 53.5? Well, it's actually 52.5 here on FanDuel Sportsbook.
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. And you said it best, Jerry Jeudy being out. I do think we see more involvement with Sutton in this game for sure. I will say Jerry Jeudy's injury kind of broke my heart, but it could have been much worse. Because to be honest with you, I thought it was like snapped.
I thought he broke his
horrible.
ankle.
It looked horrible. So Broncos fans everywhere, I'm sure you were cringing just like me because I was like, no, that's Jeudy. We can't lose him. But I think Sutton's a great player, and I do think that because of that injury, you see a lot more involvement in him. So I think there's great value in his over this week. I really do.
I do as well. I'm taking the over. I'm a big Courtland Sutton fan in terms of talent. I think Jerry Jeudy and him, they play in different spots of the field. Courtland Sutton's a more taller, throw it up to him, maybe kind of receiver, and Jerry Judy's more that underneath, really great route runner. But I think they need to get Courtland Sutton involved in this offense if they want to win this game. I expect a big game out of him. Now, 53.5, I don't know if I'm probably avoiding that when it comes down to it, but if I had to choose, so you're putting me on the spot, I'm taking the over. I'm taking the over there. We had another question come in saying, I've got Brady, Murray, and Dak all under 1/2 interception. Is betting interceptions just a toss-up prop, or we can make an informed decision here? He really likes Brady against the Falcons with 0 INTs. Yeah, if you're going to bet on anyone getting 0 INTs, it's Brady, but I don't love making INT prop bets personally. I do think it's a little fluky at times. So I don't know. Do you have an opinion there, Liv?
I have never, to be honest with you, full transparency, I've never placed that kind of a prop. Because I'm the type of person that, as you can see, likes to take notes. And there's not a lot of notes that you can take in that situation. Like you said, kind of fluky, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And I like having some sort of safety net, knowing like you did your research. If it fails, it's okay because you have the numbers to back you up. With a prop like that, anything can happen. So I definitely wouldn't ever place it myself.
I mean, it could bounce off of someone's hands and it'd be an interception. It's not Tom Brady's fault. It's no one's fault, really. It's unlucky. Tom Brady had 2 interceptions last week against the Cowboys. I bet you would think it was a pretty safe bet taking the under on interceptions there.
Right.
If I had to choose, yes, I'm taking the under on interceptions against the Falcons this week. But again, I don't love betting on it personally. Was there any other matchup or over under or anything you that really stood out to you, Liv?
Yeah, I'll just kind of toss a couple more out there. I don't need to get into detail about them, but over 49.5 in the 49ers Eagles matchup. Both teams combined are walking away from week 1 with 73 points. The 49ers allowed 33 points to the Lions, and despite the Eagles holding the Falcons to no touchdowns, it's that question of, is the Eagles defense really good, or are the Falcons just hot garbage? That's really what it boils down to me. It's hard for me to get a read on this. I think the Eagles looked awesome, but I also think that we may see a different game up against an opponent that's not the Falcons, to be completely honest with you. And so I think we see a very high scoring matchup here. I actually also am leaning Eagles +3. The Eagles are at home. Like I said, they looked really great. Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, looked really great. 77% completion rate, 264 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 62 rushing yards. I mean, he just looked awesome. And, so I don't know. I think we see a really good game here, though. I actually am excited about this one because you've got the 49ers who ranked bottom 10 in defense, yards allowed their opponent. And then you've got the Eagles, who ranked top 10 in defense, yards allowed to their opponent. But again, it's that question of, okay, the Eagles ranked top 10 walking out of week 1, but they also played the Falcons. So it's kind of hard to get a good read on this Eagles team. And again, that's kind of the pain of week 2 is, you'd only have one game to go off of for this team. And the Eagles played the Falcons, and the Falcons to me will have the number 1 draft pick next year. They look horrible to me. I think that they will be the worst team in the NFL this year. So hard for me to really get a read on this Eagles team, but nonetheless, I think both QBs, actually all 3 QBs, I guess I should say, since we've got a little rotation happening for the.
Oh yeah, Trey Lance, right?
I think we see just a very high scoring matchup. Both teams scoring quite a bit. So I'm taking the over 49.5 in that one. And then another favorite. I know I literally just talked about how the Dogs did so well last week, but
it's okay.
Chiefs -3.5. It's really hard for me to not like this bet just because the Chiefs are healthy. The Ravens are not. That's just the simple fact of the matter. The Ravens have a lot of injuries, super unfortunate circumstances for them. One thing that really stands out to me, and I actually have a player prop in this game as well, but the Ravens allowed the most passing yards to the Raiders last week. They allowed Derek Carr 409 passing yards. Now, I'm not trying to dog on Derek Carr, but it's Derek Carr. And to be honest with you, I was not expecting him to have over 400 passing yards. So something has got to change on this Ravens defense, because that to me is just like absurd. And so to me, that's music to Mahomes' ears. A passing QB going up against a team that allowed the most passing yards coming out of week 1 is huge. And so 81% of the Chiefs' yards in week 1 were passing yards. This is a pass-heavy team. Patrick Mahomes is great at passing the ball and getting it to his receivers.
Oh, is he?
So he is, yes. I don't know if you knew that, but he's actually pretty good. But nonetheless, I think there's just a lot that the Ravens there's a lot of things against them right now and super unfortunate circumstances for them this year, but it's just hard for me to not want to take the Chiefs in this one. I know that they were horrible against the spread last year and horrible against the spread on the road. Totally get it, but I think this is a very different circumstance. The Ravens are coming off of a Monday Night Football loss, and a little fun fact for you, Harbaugh is 1-4 coming off of a Monday Night Football loss. So
don't tell me that.
I know. I'm sorry. But just so, the trends and all those good things and the passing defense not being very strong for this Ravens team, I just think the Chiefs are going to take this one. I don't think they have any problems covering -3.5. But hey, welcome to gambling. I could be so wrong, and the Ravens could turn around and just absolutely annihilate. So it is what it is, but I am riding with the Chiefs -3.5 in this one.
I don't blame you. I'm a Ravens fan, and everything you said is correct. The Ravens' pass defense is just not looking great right now. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. Jimmy Smith was out last week. Marcus Peters out for the season. Obviously, the running game's torn apart a little bit. I do think Patrick Mahomes has the opportunity to kind of pick them apart, especially if Derek Carr was able to do so last week.
Right. And again, no knock on Derek Carr, but kind of a knock on Derek Carr. Like, good for you, but also that doesn't normally happen. But that's
Derek Carr's an above average NFL quarterback, in my opinion. But that's as high as I can go. I'm not even, I can't put any higher than that.
And I guess while we're kind of talking about this game a little bit, I actually did take Patrick Mahomes over passing yards, over 318.5 passing yards, just based off of everything I just said. I decided to rock with Patty Mahomes. I know his mom doesn't like him being called Patty, but whoops. So I'm going to rock with him. Yeah, I do. So I'm going to rock with him, and it does kill me. And I know you're a Ravens fan. It does kill me because I'm a huge Lamar Jackson fan. I love him. I think he's one of the most fun quarterbacks to watch, and he is insane. There's a part of me that kind of feels like he's a little underrated. And I know that's like craziness because people are like, no, everyone loves Lamar Jackson. Well, I think people sleep on his ability to not only perform well, but I think people think because he's he runs the ball so much and he's this great rushing QB, he still knows how to pass the ball. So I'm a big Lamar Jackson girl. And so this has kind of killed me to see this Ravens team kind of crumble right in front of his eyes. It really does kill me. But again, I got to just go with the facts of the matter. And the facts of the matter are the Ravens just aren't healthy right now. And the Chiefs are. So I'm rocking with the Chiefs, even though it hurts, because I really do love Lamar Jackson. I really do. He's a great QB.
All in all, I'm right there with you. I think the Ravens are going to figure it out over the course of the season, but week 2 against maybe the best team in the NFL. I'm nervous about them. I also would take the Chiefs
for sure.
-3.5 myself. And just to get a couple things, I see there's some fantasy questions here in the chat. Just some quick hits here. AB or Brandon Cooks full point PPR. I'm going AB there. Gaskins, Higgins, or Fournette non-PPR. I'm actually going Higgins there. Mike Williams or T. Higgins in a flex. I would go T. Higgins there. And then Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase. I have T starting. Just because you have T starting, I think I'm going to diverse my portfolio a little bit. I'll go with Devontae Smith. He looked awesome in week 1. And I just, real quick, another prop, just because we just mentioned Mike Williams here. I love taking Mike Williams over 56.5 receiving yards this week. Week 1, he had 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. This guy's talented. As long as he's healthy with Justin Herbert, he is going to eat. Let's go.
Love it. You just finished this up with like a lock. I love that. That's
Let's go, Mike.
You need.
Mike Williams is my favorite prop, a player prop bet going in this week, over 56.5 points. Bet it, guys. This was fun. This was so much fun.
We'll do this again sometime for sure.
I would love to. And thanks for everyone that tuned in on the FanDuel channel. Make sure you guys are tuning in each Sunday for JJ's Start Sit Fantasy Questions at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. And then you can get your betting questions in here starting at 12:30 Eastern Time each week. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and like the video. Liv, you got anything else to say before we get out of here?
Best of luck, everybody. You guys know gambling is gambling. If you lose, learn from it. If you win, celebrate it. And we move on, and we'll be back for week 3. So best of luck to everyone.
Let's go. We're going to kill it this week. I'm excited. I'm good. Let's go watch the games. Let's go. You can find me on Twitter at FYFJosh. Find Liv on all platforms at Liv Moods. Let's go. That was fun.